So, welcome. This is January 2024, and our first Infinite Wisdom guests are Alexander and Viki Dunlop, and I am so excited to hear their backstory. I met Alexander, as I was mentioning to the group. I met him through a mutual friend, through Peter Roth. And I found this system that they've come up with using the 52 cards in the deck to be absolutely fascinating. And I, first of all, highly recommend everybody get to their website and put your birthday in and watch the cards that come up and then read what they say. It's a brilliant website. It's so fun. And I found to be incredibly accurate. So, with no further ado, welcome Alexander and Viki. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Truly a pleasure.
So, okay, we need the whole thing. Like, when did this start? I know that the kind of you got a lightning bolt to your head, maybe, but we want to hear the whole story. So let
Sure.
us know.
And before we go into that, the website is thesourcecards.com. So thesourcecards.com, and that's where you can get your free reading right on the homepage. Find out the first two cards in your life path. And what we're talking about, since people ask me, we're like, yes, we're talking about the regular deck of cards. These cards are an ancient system of knowledge that was hidden in plain sight. And there is a long backstory. I don't know how long we want to go into the backstory in this, but I was on a long spiritual quest starting at age 17 through every religious tradition, study the kind of cliched quintessential things of going to India, hiking the mountain. I met the guru. I did plant medicine ceremonies, studied with indigenous shamans, studied every esoteric system of knowledge I could find. And this was on my spiritual quest. But meanwhile, I had the kind of normal life, working on Wall Street as a consultant, before that studying philosophy at Harvard. So I had this kind of blue chip background, but meanwhile, from an awakening I had at age 17, this launching me on this quest that I didn't know where it was going to lead me. Certainly never expected that I would find my answers in a deck of playing cards. And it was actually at a party in Brooklyn that someone first introduced it to me. So I find it really funny that it was at a party in Brooklyn that I found the meaning of my life, not on the mountaintop in India, not in an ayahuasca ceremony, not at Roman Catholic seminary. It was in a party in Brooklyn. That's where I found the meaning of my life. And fast forward, then meeting Viki a few years after that, and now we're teaching this knowledge together. And I'm really grateful for the partnership and doing it together. Because we make a great team. We're thrilled to work together. I'll let Viki tell you if that's true or not from her perspective. I think it's true. And we do feel like we're on a mission to share this information. I believe that it is an important vehicle in our evolution as a species to recover this ancient knowledge that was hidden in plain sight and persecuted. And ancient libraries in Alexandria and Egypt were burned to the ground by Christians, Muslims, and Romans, all different empires passing through that geographic space, burned everything that wasn't their own. So the fact that we even have these remnants of knowledge that survive from ancient times is itself a miracle, as far as I can tell. Because when you do, and I have, look back in the ancient mythologies and stories, let's say in the Sumerian myths, the oldest known myths we have, their mythology refers to what they call tablets of destiny. And in these tablets of destiny, they say you can read your life and understand the magic of your life on earth. And anyone who's able to read these tablets has great personal power and wisdom. Well, in those days, there was no paper. And so this knowledge would have been scratched onto clay or stone tablets, these symbols, these patterns, which are symbols of the sacred geometry of our life, or of our world. And so as far back as we go, we find that this knowledge is already present. And what I find even more interesting is that the Sumerians say they didn't create this. This information was a gift from their gods, which opens up a whole nother possibility of what their gods were, which we can or we don't have to go into. I don't know how deep you want to go, Hope. But I believe this is an ancient gift to humanity to help us evolve on this planet. And then it was lost, hidden, persecuted. And the fact that it's come back to us now is really significant in the timing of it as a toolkit to help us understand who we are and why we're here, which, as you mentioned, Hope, is extremely accurate. It's the most accurate tool I ever found in terms of understanding who I am and why I'm here. And it's been tremendously helpful for me. That's all I can say. It's a game changer. It's a game changer for our relationship. And so we want to share it and give it to everybody. We started a nonprofit organization to share this information. And then we have a variety of programs and courses that we offer as well.
Fantastic.
That's my intro summary.
All right, Viki, how about you?
I'm
Chime in
up.
here.
Your turn.
So over 25 years ago, I had a medical issue. I didn't get my period for 6 years.
Mm.
And I went to all different doctors and nobody could figure out what was going on with me. And it was my mom who suggested going to an energy healer. She had found an energy healer where she lives in New Jersey. And I went to the energy healer, and a day or two after, I got my period. And I was like, whoa, like there's really something to this, this is amazing. And I just catapulted me into this journey of healing and self-discovery. I wanted to just learn everything about, all of it, like doing weekend workshops and learning different healing modalities. And I went to the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, and I did theta healing, and I mean, you name it, so a journey of self-discovery and evolving and growing and going deep into myself. So now it's 10 years ago when I met Alexander at a cafe. I was sitting at a counter waiting for a friend of mine who was late, and he walks. And he started chatting with me and then asked me my date of birth and proceeded to tell me all about myself in about 20 minutes, right? And I remember thinking, you're telling me about myself in this short period of time, like the good and the bad and the ugly, like the shadow stuff, like just in certain things he said about me. I was like, wow, in 20 minutes, what I've just spent the last, 15, 20 years, going to learn about myself. So it was pretty profound for me that there was this template that showed all these things, that I was discovering about myself.
Wow.
And then as I started to look more into the system and look up other people, I think that's really when it just hit me in a bigger way. Like at first I thought it was just, oh, really cool and it's accurate. But as far as it being like a healing tool for me, and then I started me down that road, and then we eventually like joined forces. It was when I looked up other people in my life, and I could just see, like, I started to understand the dynamics of the relationships better. That's my favorite topic, the dynamics of relationship according to the cards. I just love it. So illuminating, so accurate. And so that really got me in full on. And yeah, I haven't looked back since.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I love that. I love that it's funny, I'm listening to you talk, especially Alexander, because you're using some language that I've been using since the infinity wave arrived. And it's also here. It's one of the tools to help us evolve. And so I love, and I always say it just goes in your toolkit, along with a lot of other things. And so this here, what we've got is another tool. And wouldn't it be cool if we could use them together? That's for one thing, because
Sure.
the infinity wave really enhances relationships without a word being spoken. But anyways, it's not about the affinity wave. This is about
We'll
you
learn
guys.
more.
Wow.
I'd love to learn more. We'll
Yes.
take it offline and we'll learn more.
All right, we will. We will. But I think what would be helpful for people is can you do a demonstration of some sort?
We can. Are you?
Okay, because I think that would be the way that people could really get, like get deep in and start to understand how, like, you see the three cards, and then on your website, there are short, succinct descriptions.
Mhm.
But I imagine, oh wait, before we go there, anyway, what I was going to say is, but I imagine that there's much more depth to them than what you're able to actually just put on the website.
Of course.
So here's what I wanted to go back to your story before we draw cards. How did you go from meeting this person at a party in Brooklyn and
Mhm.
then developing it into this program? Because I'm imagining there was a whole lot of information coming into you to enhance it. Take us from that point on.
That's a great question. I love these questions you're asking. Yes. So when it was first introduced to me, it was within the framework of it's a fortune telling system. And people wanting to read your yearly cards, as it was called, cards of your destiny, to look up ahead and see what's coming for you. Within that frame of reference, there was still an idea of, well, you have cards for your life and they show you yourself. And I didn't say this before, but the way and the timing that it hit me was especially profound, in terms of really kind of slapping me in the face of like, you need to pay attention to this. Because I was going through a divorce at the time. The next day I went out to a party to sort of clear my head kind of thing. And I walk in, I'm emotionally crushed and heartbroken, realize I'm going through this divorce now. And I walk in and I see this old friend from Burning Man, because I used to go to Burning Man. And he's like, "What's your birthday?" I'm like, August 30th. Why? He's a little calculation in his head. He's like, "Your birth card is the 9 of Hearts. It means in this life you're going to go through tragic endings of the heart. You're going to have to learn how to let go and move on." I was
Oh
like,
my gosh. Ha!
I mean, like message from the universe. I had a deja vu kind of moment. The air got thick around me and my knees got wobbly. I don't know, so that was my like, you know, you need to pay attention to this, because I was very skeptical. I'm a Harvard trained scholar. I'm like, playing cards. What? No, this can't be it. And this isn't it. But it caught me. And at the time I was studying human design, I was studying gene keys, I was even studying Vedic astrology and Mayan astrology a little bit. I was studying palmistry to read palms. I really was trying everything when I said that earlier. But something about these cards pulled at me. And I was doing ayahuasca ceremonies at the time regularly. That was my spiritual practice. And I would go upstate every couple months with a community. So I started bringing the deck of cards into the ceremonial container and setting my intention. What is this? What is this all about? What do these cards really mean, etc. And one of the things that came through first was that this was a book, and it had once been known as the Book of Life, and the Book of Life, like the Book of Life. And so I'll do a quick segue to say there are 52 cards in the deck and 52 weeks in the year. There are the 4 suits and 4 seasons in the year. There's 13 cards in each suit from the ace to the king. There's 13 weeks in each season. The number values are 1 through 13. Jack, Queen, King are 11, 12, 13. If you add up those number values, 1 plus 2 plus 3, and so on, you'll get 91 for each suit, 91 days in each season. 91 times 4 is 364. The Joker is the 53rd symbol, 53rd archetype, and his numeric value is represented by the fact that he's the 5th element in the 4-part system. So it's 5 over 4, or 1 1/4. Put the Joker back numerically, you get 365 1/4. So it's a perfect mathematical representation of the seasons and the cycles of the Earth's orbit around the sun, of our life on Earth. And in ancient times, books didn't have bindings. Like books of the Bible written on scrolls and parchment, they were still known as books. So in ancient times, books did not have bindings. And what came through in the download in the medicine was that this had once been known as a little book of life, because that's what it represents. It represents the seasons and cycles of our life on Earth. So it's like, oh, this is the book of life. And then a little later, what started coming through, and we teach this together now in classes. If you look up all of the pip patterns, these are pips, the spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds, pips. Every single one of these patterns emerges out of the tree of life. The arrangement of the spheres, you take different spheres and you can overlay them. We have a little video on our YouTube channel that shows this. So then I was like, oh, this information comes out of the flower of life and the tree of life. And there's a lot of crossover with Kabbalah. I've had many students who study Kabbalah who've studied this. So this long way of answering your question is that what I started realizing is that this is not a fortune-telling instrument. That's not what this is. This is information that's coming out of the flower of life and the tree of life. This is the book of life, maybe given to us by other civilizations way back when, who were visiting at that time to give us information so that we can understand this quantum energy field that we call our space-time matrix. And then I started to think, and this is my own hypothesis, that as quantum physicists investigate further into string theory, right now they think maybe 11 vibrating strings, 12 vibrating strings, they're not sure. My hypothesis is that they'll discover that there are 13 vibrating strings in 4 dimensions, that is the energy field that is our space-time matrix. And some civilization far more advanced than ours figured this out through their own instrumentation or science. And they developed a simple way to symbolize this energy grid, this matrix, flower of life, that we are all now born into, to symbolize what we're here to do, the game of our life, the theme that we're here to explore and all the complementary aspects of it. So for mine is the 9 of hearts, based on the numbers of my birthday. Viki's the 5 of diamonds. And so then there's this whole theoretical construct, and that's been the download, and that's been what brought us to this point of calling these the source cards, because they reveal the source code of our life and our reality. I was calling them the book of life for a while, the first like 10 years of teaching this, but it didn't land for people. It's too much in our consciousness that these are cards for people to think of them as a book. So then I got a new download of information of need to call them cards, one step at a time, call them cards. And so then when Viki mentioned we joined forces, she had her own healing practice, and we officially decided to work together, and we launched Source Cards on January 1st, 2022.
Got it. Got it. Now, where did you go to get the information that what each card represents?
Well, at first I was reading other people's books. There wasn't much written at the time. There's a little bit more now. But this fellow named Robert Camp had written a couple of books. He called them Cards of Destiny, and he was, in my opinion, interested primarily in fortune telling. That's what he wants to do with them. And that was my first kind of getting a sense of what they mean. And then it was really through my own meditation and understanding of the pip patterns that this is a visual symbolic language. And I would meditate on the meanings of them, bring them into the ayahuasca ceremonies, and let the information come through. But it started, credit where credit is due. It started with Robert's original work. That's how I found it. And then to realize, oh, this is so much more than that. And it's not the way gypsies used to use this to, you're going to have a tall, dark, and handsome man come and meet you next year. You could do that with this information, but I think it's much more profound than that. And so that's been now our work together. I feel like navigating a middle path between the fortune telling and the skepticism, that this is a spiritual toolkit. It's for spiritual awareness, spiritual awakening. It's a tool of consciousness to be able to see the patterns. I was just watching an Eckhart Tolle presentation today. I love listening to him. And he was talking about spaciousness. And that's, to me, what this toolkit provides. Because when I can see that I'm born to play the Nine of Hearts, and I see all the patterns of the Nine of Hearts, then it gives me the space to see it and not be controlled by it. Then I have the conscious awareness to play the patterns right and get a different outcome from it. So that's the way we teach it for people, is that it's a tool of conscious awakening.
I want to go back to that, what you just said. It gives you this ability to play the cards differently. But I want to put a pin in that for a minute, because I'm sure that along the road here, you did research into how the playing cards have been used through history and how the tarot deck, I believe, emerged out of them.
Well, it did.
And all the secrets and messages that were used, right, embedded into the patterns of the cards also, in court and so on. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, that's a great question again. And I appreciate even that you recognize that the tarot emerged out of it, because I've had some sometimes contentious debates with tarot card lovers, and as gently and respectfully as I can, because I love tarot cards. I've had many powerful tarot card readings in my life, that these cards, the playing cards, must have been prior, because of what they represent, which are the sacred geometric building blocks of reality coming out of the flower of life. And they represent the Fibonacci sequence and the golden rectangle and Metatron's cube. The very basic building blocks of our reality, that's what these cards symbolize. And then layered on top of those building blocks are the archetypal stories of our human existence, which is what the tarot cards reveal and represent. So just understanding what the cards really reveal helps us to reorient of which must have come first. And so that's one, and there's actually a whole class on this topic that I teach, but that's a very simple, hopefully elegant way of understanding which came first.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, well, let's go back to that thing I put a pin in. How you play your cards, so to speak, differently with the knowledge of what your life card is, or life cards are.
Sure.
How do you play your cards differently?
So there are so many ways to play cards, right? You can play them really well and you can play them not well at all, right? There's a high side to the cards, there's a low side to the cards. I'm playing the Five of Diamonds. So for example, the Five of Diamonds, like for me to play it well, would to like really own being out of the box and being a change agent.
So here's the Five of Diamonds. So we show the symbolic pattern.
Right. So that's about change. That's
How,
about
how do you know that's about change?
so the 5 is about change. The number represents
Good question.
right.
One
Oh,
second. So great question. And this is a visual symbolic language, like learning to read Chinese characters or hieroglyphs. What does that say to you?
Stability. It's a rectangle kind of thing.
It's a box.
Equality, it's a box, yeah.
Structure, order. That's the 4.
Mhm.
Okay. What does this say to you?
Now we have a division. We have a center point that could be blowing it apart or could be holding it together.
Boom.
Did I
That's
pass the test?
You're right.
Yeah, you passed.
Exactly
You
right.
graduated. But yes, so it's a visual language that you can actually learn the meaning just by meditating on it.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
so interesting. Yeah, go ahead, Vicky.
the pip pattern says so much. You just like be with the pip pattern, looking at it, and then sense it. What comes to you? What do you feel? What it intuitively comes? What thoughts do you have? You know, like everybody, like whatever we've done that with anyone, so much comes through, like things I've never even thought about. You know, like it's so these patterns are sacred, and they show you how to play the high side, and they're healing.
Tell me about that. They show you how to play the high side.
So to me, it's like coming out of this box. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's showing me like that center pip is coming out of the box. So if I'm going to play it the high side, I'm going to be my out of the box self, you know, and not be like more, you know, I can do that too. I can go in the box and be rigid, and I can also get scattered like all over the place, like, you know, the scattered energy, which is also the
Like
five of
going around
diamonds.
and around in a turnstile.
Spinning, 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 spinning.
Oh, very interesting.
So then it's about, if I'm spinning, 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 it's about finding the center point, finding the stillness and the center point in myself.
Hmm. Fascinating. Okay. Okay, good. Well, now let's pull
Let's
cards for somebody.
yeah,
What do
let's
you
take
think?
some examples because that's, like you said, that's the best way to bring it home.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to have that, Katie. Okay, my dear. There is Katie right here. A little bit dark there, but there she is with can you see her?
Yeah.
Alexander and Vicky? Okay,
Hi,
there she is.
Katie.
Yes. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
So
When is your date of birth?
October 1st.
All right. Have you heard this knowledge before?
No.
This is new to you. Okay, fun. All right. So drum roll, please. And this is all based on math. It's overlaps with numerology. There's an astrological element to this knowledge. As I mentioned, a Kabbalistic element. There's a lot of different pieces to this knowledge. Based on numbers, your birth card is the 8 of diamonds. Now, diamonds as a suit represent what we can perceive with our physical senses. Clubs is the mental energy. It's a clover, a flower. The heart is the heart, obviously enough. The spade is an acorn, and the acorn is a symbol of the pineal gland, the third eye, vision, faith, imagination. Born into the suit of diamonds makes you eminently pragmatic. Can we see it? Can we taste it? Can we touch it? Yes, no. This is the decision making for you. And it's a visceral gut instinct. Now, the 8 is the infinity symbol. Infinite energy, boundless, endless energy. And it makes you very powerful. So you want to be aware that you don't overuse your power and unintentionally get yourself tied up in knots, especially in your gut. You want to flow and be graceful. It's really important for you that you don't force or bully or push. You see, if you look closely, where is the 8 in this pattern?
Let's see. Well, it would start in, I see the infinity symbol going through,
The
like
white
in the
space.
white spaces.
The 8 is in the white space, in the in-between.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the clue for you. We talked about how to play it right is encoded in the patterning. That's your clue of how to play your card right. It's in the empty space. It's in the flow. You don't want to crowd yourself, crowd your day, clutter your space. You need good feng shui, good flow. That's how you play your cards right.
does that
That is
resonate with you, Katie?
very cool. Well, the part that is is I was a Waldorf teacher, a Waldorf remedial education teacher, and the 8 is a big deal. And also every so many times when I would be reading something of Rudolf Steiner's, I would in the margin write, it's the spaces in between. It's the space in between. It's the space in between.
Wow.
Fascinating. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
and here, and and hope.
Yes, you're attracted.
The infinity wave. That's just very.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Um, anybody else wish to have their Joni? Okay, girl, tell them your birthday. I know it. You gotta unmute.
3/27, March 27th.
We're looking you up here. All right. So you are born to play.
The 9 of clubs. The 9 is about letting go, transcending, climbing up the ladder. The 9 represents a ladder, and you can go up that ladder or down that ladder in your mind.
Do you
Clubs
see the
represent
ladder there?
thoughts.
I do. Mhm.
So, it's important, very important for you in letting go. And what are you thinking about? Like letting go of thoughts that don't serve you, transcending your thoughts, rising up, letting go and letting yourself rise up to the next level of your ideas. And you can go again up and down this ladder. The center pip here is like a stepping stone. So that can be like a block, but it also can be a stepping stone to the next level.
Yeah, a stabilizing place.
Yeah. The 9 in clubs would mean that you would think about things to the 9s.
What does that mean? Like overthink it?
It can.
Yeah, that would be correct.
And you would think about things until you can break through and have a paradigm shift and go to the next level.
Absolutely. I have what I call my inner boss, and I can't make a decision until my inner boss approves. And so I'll think and think and think because basically I can't move until my inner boss. It's just, I guess I'm just waiting and I'm kind of rehearsing the story. And then my intuition fires up or something, or the stars change and I can move. But I will overthink things. I try, when we were all younger, we moved too quickly. And I learned not to do that. I wait for a sense of a certainty.
That's wonderful that you've developed that inner knowing for
Yes.
yourself. Because
It is. You can't do anything until it activates. I mean, it's kind of a bossy thing. It doesn't all, you can't just call it up and say, what do I do? It's like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll be back to you. I'll get back to you. And you're like, okay. And you just have to wait. I don't move it. I try not to. I'm sure I have, silly things, but big things, I wait.
that's
And
one again that you
then
have that awareness.
part of me, yeah, it's nice. It's a good thing. It is a good thing. Because as life goes on, mistakes are more difficult to correct.
Well, just to add, to say a little more, playing the 9 of clubs makes you a thought leader.
Oh, okay,
'Cause
great.
You're here to think the thoughts that go to the next level.
Wow, very cool. I love that. I'm gonna wear a card in my hat, like the Mad.
And I want to just go back to Katie for a moment to say that the 8 of diamonds is like the alpha in the wolf pack. Yeah. And I'm saying this to both of you, and you notice that it causes a little bit of for both of you,
Yeah.
step into the full power of what this energy template offers you, that as a soul, for lack of a better word to say it, being a limitless and timeless being that you are, coming here to play with this pattern and to have the experience of play with this crayon and this building block and this Lego, to play with this template. And the highest expression, we're talking about playing the high side of these cards, the highest expression of the 9 of clubs is to be like a wisdom teacher.
Like
Tony Robbins,
an elder,
sure,
correct?
Tony Robbins is born to play the 9 of clubs, for example, right? And
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins, and he is a wisdom teacher. Whatever else we may think about him, he's playing his cards right. He's teaching knowledge, and he's helping people step up to the next level of knowledge. And the
Can
8
you
of
do it
diamonds
with-
is about weaving it all together, and that means the tribe, and bringing the whole tribe together into harmony, the alpha of the pack. So these cards have these high sides that we can aspire to. So I just want to mention that. And
Yeah, correct. Thanks. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's not all I've ever played
Can you?
or haven't played yet.
Oh, I disagree. You were a Waldorf teacher. Hello. You were leading the pack constantly.
Can you do it can you teach wisdom wordlessly?
you could certainly break that paradigm into a whole new level and try, that could be your contribution.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very interesting.
Thank you so much. Very, very, grateful.
Okay, let's see if any, now I have to say, so you have your basic life card, right? But then there are 2 other cards.
Well, there's more than that, and thank you. I was thinking that you're reading my energy, that this is just the first, and there's a whole sequence of cards. And so on the homepage of our website, we show you the first 2, and then the third one it's like your birthday card. It's a fun thing, but there's a whole life path of cards. If you're interested, this is my book. Maybe reversed on the screen right now. It's Play Your Card, The Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. It's on Amazon or bookshop.org, and it's also on our website. And then you can look up all the cards in your life path and see the bigger picture, see the whole story.
The cards show all different aspects of your human being. So the first card that we're talking about is your birth card, like what you're here to shine, how you're here to shine your light in the world. But then there are cards that get like into the nitty gritty, like the Saturn, which is about life lessons and challenges, and the Pluto card, which is the unconscious hidden fears, the shadowy stuff, and it's right there illuminated in these cards,
Yeah.
So
I had a psychotherapist tell me once that it's like 10 years of psychotherapy in one card reading session with me, because you see laid out for you, like, these are your issues, these are your challenges, these are the shadows that you're here to illuminate, and you get it all in 1 hour session. And she was blown away by how accurately it reveals this stuff that you might spend years to uncover in traditional therapy.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm glad that we could speak about that, because when I did my cards on your website, as I said, I had much more clarity about my primary card, but it was the 2 ancillary cards that really it spoke more closely to how my life has played out.
What's your birthday?
March 20th on the
So,
3 of diamonds.
oh, I see. So, and then you have the 2, when you're referring to the 2 cards, it's the 2 possibilities of your personality card.
Yeah, because whenever I told Peter, he'd say, what's your birthday? I'd tell him, he'd go, oh, you're very busy. Well, that's not really, yes, I am. I'm always busy, but there's a lot more than that.
Right.
So it was helpful to read, your website and get a little more than that.
Do you know which astrological sign is yours?
I am the last half hour of Pisces.
So you are in Pisces, okay. Right. So then your personality would be the 9 of spades. And you bring up an excellent point, which is another great teaching moment, which is that even though we've been talking so far about the birth card, and it's sounds like it's resonated for both of us women on this call, often people are more identified with their personality card. And you referenced that when you found that ancillary card out, it helped you understand your life more. It was true for me as well, that my personality card, actually, I was more identified with it because it is our persona. It's our outer persona, and it would be how people perceive us and how we may identify. So we would reinforce that experience. And the 9 of spades, which I'll bring up for you, which is your persona, the spade again is consciousness. It's an acorn. And the 9, as Viki was explaining, is climbing up that ladder to the next level of consciousness, or climbing down into a dark place. And you're on this ladder, and here you are teaching people how to elevate their consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was fun to find that. So, and I appreciate this ladder imagery. That's really fun. It makes so much sense. Well, let's see if we can do somebody else, and then I want to take questions to so that we have a chance to, get some answers. Who else would like to have their cards done? Dana. Okay, unmute yourself.
Okay, so my birth date is March 22nd.
March.
All right. Do you like to ace things?
Yeah.
You like to be an ace?
Well, I like to do things well. I mean, if there's a task, I like it to be done well.
You like to ace it.
There you go.
Wow, look at that.
Born to play the ace of diamonds.
Uh-huh. That sounds right.
Yeah, our son is born to play the ace of diamonds, and he will only like to do something if he can do it the best.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he won't do it at all.
And it's
Oh.
very much about going all into that one thing to really ace that one thing.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the one thing that matters most to you in your life?
Good question. I believe it's being connected with being truly connected. That's the richest place I can see, with family, friends, whatever. But when you have that rich connection, I think that's, or lying on the ground. I mean, just that kind of, yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And you're here to ace that, which is an interesting thing, to ace something as intangible as that. But if that's what matters to you, you're here to ace that.
Okay, good. Okay.
And the ace, as we know colloquially in all our card games, it's the trump card. It's like, this is like the one, this is the only one that beats the king. And in the context of what you're describing, if rich connection is what you really value, then you're going to be the one to see, oh, that's fraying at the edges over there. Oh, this isn't as rich as it could be right there. Bam! Let me come in and ace that and make it this rich experience that I value, that I want it to be. Does that make sense?
Fabulous.
It sounds pretty controlling. That I hear.
It can be.
I hear that a controlling thing, but
It absolutely can be.
Yeah.
it's again, as always, it's how we play it.
Yeah,
Um,
got it.
You can very much have, when you say controlling, it can very much be like you want to get the last word or have the final point, right? Very much so. Like I got to get the last thing in there and have the final, put the final cherry on top. Or it can be like, let me just put there what needs it. Let me do there what it needs. And so, and again, for all of playing our cards, right, there's a detachment in a very Buddhist sense of it, that we're not attached to the outcome. We want to play it the best that it can be and make the most beautiful expression of it that it could be, because that's our joy, that's our passion, that's the art of our life, that you want to ace this rich connection that is what matters to you. And then what does that look like? And how do you do that? And then it's the game of your whole life to explore what that looks like.
Sounds
Awesome.
like a good game coming up here. I
You
appreciate it.
picked
Thank you.
Yeah, you picked it. You chose your cards. Well, I
Yeah.
believe it's our day. We come in into this
Yeah.
matrix. You pop your head out, you get imprinted with this energy signature, and we choose it. There's no victim cards here. We choose it.
Oh. Right on. Thank you.
So let's just take a moment and see if there are questions, because this is such a fascinating, Jen, I knew you would have questions.
Yeah, I do. Well, first of all, thank you both so much. And you unlocked a door to a mystery that I have had about tarot. I do use tarot professionally, and I have a very old Italian deck. And there are no pictures on the pip cards. There are just pips, just the images. And that supports the idea that the pips were there before someone laid images on. I know, right?
Thank you
So,
for taking that. Would you please, not maybe now, but share that image or
oh, I'd be happy to. Happy
I
to. The
love-
old, Italian tarocchi decks. They just had the pip, they had, anyway, I'll share them. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
But now you've opened a door for me because I have that deck and now I know how to get into it. So thank you. But, I'm my most fascinating subject. I'm a king of diamonds. And, can you talk about the court cards versus the numbers?
Wow, that's a great question. I saw quickly just in the chat, the year does not matter for the birth card and the life path cards. You do have yearly cards though. This is a fractal complex system. So you have a life path, and then every year you have cards, and that's when the year does matter. Now you're asking a question that I don't know if you realize how big this question is that you're asking. Maybe you do, because you are born to play the King of Diamonds. So traditionally, this is how the King of Diamonds is represented. One of the things that I realized, to your earlier question, Hope, is that we need to restore the actual pip patterns, because this is the 13 of diamonds. This is the quote King of Diamonds. And we've talked a lot about how the pips reveal the way to play it right. Well, this is a rectangle with a line that bisects it. This is the Chinese character for the middle way. The exact same. It's also the Greek symbol, the phi symbol, which is the symbol of the golden ratio, which gives the golden rectangle. And this is your clue about how to play the King of Diamonds well. Find the middle path. It's not being ruthless, which you can be. And it's also not abdicating your throne, which you can do. It's finding the middle path. That's your way.
And
Just
the
a little-
diamonds.
Yeah, yeah. Pragmatic, and a little color on the canvas is one of the oracles I use the most are the Chinese coins, the I Ching. So that idea of finding that middle path, always the middle way. So thank you so much.
Right. And you said pragmatic, exactly right. It's what really matters here. You have that shrewd ability. What is it that really matters here? And then you can zoom in on that and carve that way forward.
Wow.
Thank you
Fascinating.
so much.
You're very welcome. Do you want to say something?
Well, I was gonna say that in looking at the king's face, he only has one eye. So there can be blind spots also. So it's like connected to like finding the middle way. It's like sometimes that's about getting another perspective from someone else. Like one of these lines on the side could be like somebody else's perspective for you to find that middle way, because there can be blind spots.
You mean it's not my way or the highway?
No. No, Abraham Lincoln, famously, who was born to play the King of Diamonds, surrounded himself with people who disagreed with him. And his biography was called A Team of Rivals, because he filled his cabinet with people who disagreed with him. He, again, born to play the King of Diamonds, he had the clarity, the awareness to realize he needed to hear contradictory, contrasting perspectives. And that is a wise King of Diamonds.
You know, I would think that that single eye could also mean laser focus.
Yes. Yes.
It's a rich symbolism. And again, in similar ways to the tarot, this is a visual representation of this pattern. This is an ancient archetypal representation, a pedagogical moment to help people understand, what does this even mean? Well, it means this. It's like you're the king, you're the authority, you get to command your way. And that one-eyed aspect, yes, you can be shrewd, you can see laser, you can also have blind spots. It's also, on another level, it's symbolic of the ability to weave together the light and the dark, the seen and the unseen.
Mm.
That's the deeper meaning of that symbolism. So as a king born to play the King of Diamonds, it means something like you can be a tantric master.
Well, that's interesting. Huh.
Can I just say, there's two heads of the King of Diamonds. He has one head looking at one diamond and one head looking at the other diamond. So he's giving equal weight to opposing
Mm.
views.
And we can read it that way too.
Love that.
There's rich iconography, rich symbolism in these.
Taking it to the next level with that 9 of clubs, are you?
Right?
Jen?
There we go.
I mean, really.
Right? Love it.
I
Love
mean,
it.
I never even thought about that. It's like
Playing.
Level thinking.
next level thinking.
Oh, leave it to you, Joni. Love it. Love it. Okay. Anybody else wish to have a,
We
Yeah.
probably need to finish here in a few minutes, so it'll be an
okay,
hour.
so questions, any
Landing.
questions?
Have about
I'd
an
like to ask a question, Hope.
Go ahead, Julianne.
I hope I used the right verb here. The cards and human design, do they reflect each other in some way, or are they contained with each other?
They do absolutely reflect each other. They're completely independent systems. I know my human design well. I learned things about myself from human design that I did not learn about myself in the cards. Our mutual friend, Peter Roth, that Hope referenced, I know he uses both in his readings. And the way he said it to me is that he likes to lead with the cards as a way to kind of introduce people to themselves. And then he likes to fill in some things with the human design, which gives some more detail in different ways. I love knowing both. I think they're very complementary. They're independent systems and they teach you slightly different things. I've never found it to be contradictory, but very complementary in different angles of seeing different aspects of yourself.
So do you do both?
I don't. I once upon a time had the idea that I was going to do both. And then I realized that I'm going to specialize in one thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, seeing as we need to wrap up, let's just talk quickly about what your offerings are. So that everybody knows, like, do you do readings? I know you teach courses. Oops, sorry. What?
Yeah, so I mean, if you come to thesourcecards.com, you can put in your birthday and do the reading online that we've prepared for you. It is a little more generic because it needs to be. It's a generic reading on a website, but you can certainly get started there. Then would recommend you get the book. And then we have classes. I do private consultations, and Viki is a healer. She does healing work that's focused around helping people to clear the blocks to play their cards right. Yeah.
Also, right now we're offering consultations, breakthrough consultations without or with the both of us. So you get coaching and healing in one session. And
Oh,
And so what we're launching is we're calling it the Happily Ever After Code. And we're getting ready to launch that in February. And that we realized recently, and this is more Viki's initiative because she loves relationships, that we want to focus on helping people to meet their soulmate and live their happily ever after. And it emerged organically out of our work together because we started to notice that by helping people to play their cards right, they would get in tune and get in synchronicity and in harmony with their life. And then the right people show up and the right doors open. And we were seeing that people were meeting their soulmate. We're like, wow, maybe we should focus on this. And so we've started the Happily Ever After Code, which we're going to, as I said, launch in February. And as a part of that, we're offering these special breakthrough consultations with both of us at a very discounted rate. It's actually not on our website though at the moment. But what we can do, hope we can give you the
we can
link.
do that and then let you know when it's up and send you a
We
link
can
to
give
it.
you the link and then you can share with your people to have this special breakthrough consultation with us.
wonderful. That would be great. Now, when somebody buys the book, do they get the cards? How do they get the cards like you have?
We haven't started selling them yet.
Yeah,
That's coming.
it's in process. They're coming soon. But
So if they don't have the cards like you have, they can use regular cards.
That's how I started. I whited out the corners so that I could just see the symbols. But what we did do that is, I think, special is we restored these to the sacred geometric proportions so
Uh-huh.
that they are the sacred geometry.
and they're
And
really
this is
beautiful.
what they look like.
Oh, pretty.
One of our limitations at the moment is finding the right publisher and distributor of these cards. That's been trying to find the right person to print them. But they are coming and we're creating a booklet to go with them. So that's in the works. If you join our mailing,
That's exciting.
know when we're ready with them. Yes, we think so. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we'll want to know about that when you get there.
Mm.
Jan, you got some cards made at some point.
I did. Many years ago, I did publish a card deck, and I was just so relating in my mind about the process of finding just the right publisher and, yeah. So again, that's something maybe if you want to take offline, I can just share a little of my experience of that. And
Love
That's
to
so
hear
nice.
it. Thank you.
yeah, sure.
All righty. Well, I think it's time to say goodbye. And thank you so much, you guys. That was just fascinating. I want to get myself that book and I want to get out some cards and have fun. So thank you. I think you've really inspired us. And we will talk about how we're going to bring the Infinity Wave and the source cards together. Especially for relationships.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having us. It's been a lot of fun for us to join you all. You're a lovely group. Love the energy that you all have. So thanks for bringing us into your circle.
Oh, it's wonderful. Really wonderful to connect with everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
you.
All right.
Wonderful. Be well. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.